I think we'll often see that the products that succeed solve an obvious problem.
Yes. The product and the service that actually comes with that also is something that leaves an impact in the market.
I can guarantee you we have a consumer that's hungry for the truth.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Bizzin Podcast. The Bizzin app is about you as an entrepreneur and how you can grow as a business, because we believe as you as an entrepreneur grows, your business is going to grow with that. And to help you grow a little bit with your business, we have Elandri that speaks about digital marketing. So Elandri, maybe just tell us storytelling on your brand, right? So when you see a brand like a KFC, like a Nike, you already know the power behind that. And I think there's so much greatness coming behind that and so many resources that build up a brand like that. But it does end up always going back to a story. So in the modern day, we as an entrepreneur, we want to create a brand. How do we start by telling our story?
Yeah. I think you want to give people something to resonate with. If you think about Nike, you'll think just do it. And if
Yes.
you think about KFC, you'll think finger licking good.
Yeah.
Yes, won't be mad.
Yeah.
And I think when people think about their brand, they immediately go awareness. But I'd like if we can first go alignment. How can we get this brand to resonate with our target audience?
Yeah.
What story can we tell? Because more often than not, some of that story already lives within them. They
Yes.
just haven't verbalized it.
Sure.
And if we can find a way to use words and visuals to verbalize what they've already been feeling or already
Yeah.
been frustrated with, it becomes their story.
Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
amazing way of stating it. So the one thing that I must ask when we look at building a brand and everything, the product and the service that's behind that, how important is it that when you create a brand, that's the product and the service that actually comes with that also is something that leaves an impact in the market?
Yeah. I think we'll often see that the products that succeed solve an obvious problem.
Yes.
But the problem does not seem so obvious before it's identified.
Yes.
So the successful entrepreneurs did not necessarily create a very unique product.
Yeah.
They just solved a problem in a very
Oh.
unique way.
Yeah, that's
So
amazing.
I think the product or the service we're selling should be solving a problem.
Yes.
And that's the same for your app. It solves a problem
Exactly.
about entrepreneurs that have a specific dream, and
Yeah.
now you're enabling them to chase it.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So, and I mean, that is why you guys as socially shaped are there. You help entrepreneurs to create that, because I think in terms of creativity, you can be an entrepreneur, not necessarily always creative when
Definitely.
it comes to that.
Yes.
So how do you get an entrepreneur where that's not really his kind of thing? He's not going to be able to sit on a Canva and think, oh, I can create this kind of logo, I can
Yes.
do that. How do you
Yeah.
guys help that person to really understand his own story, or to put his own story into a picture or into a website or into a logo? How do you help an entrepreneur to get to that point?
That really is something we're most passionate about. And I think it starts with just asking the right questions.
Yes.
There's really extremely hidden value
Yeah.
in asking them the right questions
Totally.
just to get the heart behind their
Yes.
why. Because again, touching on sustainability, the better they understand
Yeah.
their why, the more sustainable story we can tell
Yes.
with their brand. So we
Definitely.
need them to understand their why, and that will start with asking them a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's so important, right? I think the why behind everything
Yes.
is so important. And I mean, what you touched on the first episode was a lot about value and how you can create value in somebody's life and what you can leave them with that really changes the course of their lives forever and their business. And when you get to digital marketing, it is something that needs to create value. The brand needs to be there and it needs to have a lasting impact. So, if we quickly touch on that, how do you quantify that to somebody that's paying a fee to have a website?
Or what do we measure?
What do you measure? Because people, a lot of people are like, 10,000 Rand or 20,000 Rand for a website. Is that worth paying in? But I think if you can start explaining to people what you actually leave and the value that you leave, how do you get that through to an entrepreneur?
I think when you look from the outside into a creative agency like ours, you think we want to simply make things pretty. And that is maybe the last of what we want to create for you. We actually operate as emotional architects.
Yeah.
How will we tell the story to make people feel something?
Yes.
And then from what they feel, they will move.
Sure.
So we want them to feel something and then we want them to act on it.
Yeah.
So your investment is not only in your brand, it's also in your client.
Sure.
Nee,
That's
it is.
important, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously we'd like to measure return on investment eventually
Yeah.
on what can we get in return.
Yeah.
It's highly unlikely that there won't be a massive return on a brand that consistently tells a story that moves people.
Yeah.
It is extremely important. We're working closely with a company now that will be doing, and it's a national company, and they're doing a brand realignment because they did not start
Yeah.
with aligning their brand and telling their
Wow.
story. And now, 5 years down the line, apart from being extremely successful, they understand that there's something about their authenticity missing
Yeah.
if it's not aligned.
That's amazing. So what I'm hearing out of that, there's opportunity for us still to get it right,
Yes.
even though
Yes.
maybe in the beginning we didn't do it as beautifully as we should have.
Yes, 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 yes.
And how do you change that? Like, does it get to a point where you totally rebrand, or is it just a few tweaks here and there? I guess
Yeah.
it's a case by case. But how do you get to a point where you truly get the entrepreneur? Now you're saying you have a brilliant product, you have a brilliant service.
Yeah.
I think you're just not telling the story correctly.
Yeah. I'd actually love to challenge every single brand to,
Yeah.
when they're listening to this, to have a one-pager that represents their brand
Yeah.
and to make sure that is on point with
Yeah.
what they want it to represent.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think there's brands that won't even have a document with their why on it.
Exactly.
So this is a cool challenge, just to look inwards and go, what is my why and is my story aligned with my brand?
Yeah. And sorry, Jill, but that's so amazing because let's take it back to us personally, to our individual lives. If we don't have a why behind
Yes.
that, it sometimes also feel like we're ticking the days. The days are
Yes.
just ticking over, ticking over, ticking over. Once we start finding purpose behind that and understanding why we are doing life, why we stand up every single morning, we start making a difference in our own
It
lives.
definitely does. And I think the why boils over to the how.
Yes.
Because I better understand why, I'm more motivated
Yeah.
for the how. And just to touch on your question about should we then completely start over, it's a difficult question because some brands very effectively rebrand in our day and age. We're busy with a complete rebranding for a company that celebrates their 50th birthday next
Wow.
year. So that is possibly a great time to
Yeah.
just take advantage of how far you've come. But usually, and we've touched on that, horrible branding works as well
Yeah, sure.
because people they don't need your visuals, they need your honesty.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very personal approach to every single business. But you can sit with, is what I currently have aligned with where I'm going?
Yeah, sure. And that's the thing, like the wording you used before the podcast is say the ugly brand. And for me, that sometimes, once I understood in business, and especially as an accounting firm dealing with multiple small businesses, you see that the one thing that they don't do is they don't spend money on advertising.
Yes.
And then I walk into this company and this client is making 5 million Rand a year. And I'm like, but you're not
Even
on,
with the
you're not
ugly
on
logo.
Google, you're not on Google, you don't have a logo. Like, what's happening here? How do you get that right?
Yeah,
and I think it comes down, like you're saying, it's just sometimes entrepreneurs are like so unique, and so well known in their own trade that they can create something without even with a digital print and a logo on
They
that.
can, yeah. And it sends a message to the rest of us that the logo is not primarily what will get people to work with you.
Yes.
It is still extremely important because for a lot of people, that will be their first experience of what they will get when they work with you. It
Yes.
represents your brand. It's when they window shop, this is their only truth.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that
Exactly.
matters.
Yeah. So, I mean, we spoke a lot about greatness in storytelling, right? And your brand. Let's maybe just quickly touch on 2 or 3 points of what is the biggest mistakes that people do when building their brand.
Yeah. Oh, I love it when people make mistakes. Can we make mistakes and fix them and tell people what we've learned? I think a lot of people tell their brand story on how they failed and then they won, and then they failed and then they won. And when people listen to that, they either think that they should be failing or they should be winning. But there's a massive stretch in between where you just learn.
Yeah.
Well, you don't necessarily fail, but you don't necessarily win. It's
Yeah.
this already but not yet space where you continue to discover things.
Yeah.
So I'd actually love to encourage brands to tell more about not the massive failure or the massive win, but just this massive space in between where you're still
Yeah.
becoming.
Sure.
I think we're missing that area of becoming. And then I think honesty in a lot of social media is missing.
Yeah.
When we're very honest about what's difficult or the mistakes we've made and what we've learned, we allow people to come home to that space
Yeah.
where we're honest, and it liberates them
Yes.
to tell their story honestly as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. You find that common ground.
Definitely, yeah.
100%. And so that's amazing that we need to touch on that. And like you're saying, the in between, right? Tracking the journey.
Yes.
So how do we get that story out to the consumer? But just like, how do we get that story out to the consumer? Do we focus on just images? Do we focus on video? Do we
Yeah.
focus on reels?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
because it's such a thing with these days. I saw the other day somebody creating an AI generated video where they just prompt something in ChatGPT and they code it, and this thing comes up with a bucky flying out of the air and everything. And so the authenticity behind that, to engage with people and to tell your story, I think becomes a little bit challenging. And especially
Does.
for an industry like you need to be creative, you need to be authentic, you need to add value like you are doing, and that's what brings it in. So for people that's thinking, well, they're fine with their own social media because they know how to create a Canva image, what would you tell
Or they're
them?
fine with ChatGPT. I'll tell them they are. They are fine, but they can be so much more.
Yeah.
They're just fine.
Yeah.
And I think we're heading into a space because of all this AI generated content. I can guarantee you we have a consumer that's hungry for the truth.
Yes.
They don't want the image of the bucky flying
Yeah.
or the ChatGPT text that can be seen with its extra long dashes and
Yes.
overuse of emoticons. They want us to be honest. They want us
Yes.
to be real. I think we will move back a lot more to consumer behavior, just because they want to make sure that they can trust you.
Exactly.
So I do think in the ideal world, I'll even go as far as to say a business should be able to manage their social media internally better than a company can do it externally.
Sure. Yeah.
If they have a clear why
Yes.
and if they have a clear how,
Yeah.
it will be possible. But that's usually not. So in the ideal world, it's this beautiful collaboration
Yeah.
where they understand their why and
Exactly.
we understand their how.
Yeah. Sure.
And that comes together beautifully.
That's important. So just before we wrap up, like if you need to attach a timeline on it, how long does it take to build a successful brand?
Long. It depends on your influence.
Yeah.
If you're someone like Relene Strauss that already have millions of followers and you establish RS Sunglasses,
Yeah.
it's easier
Yeah.
to establish a brand well. But Adriana did the same thing for Burnt without that following because she understood community extremely well.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it can be fast tracked
Yeah.
if you mark the right boxes.
Yeah.
But it will take time for people to test your product and establish that what you're saying is the truth about your brand.
Yeah. Sure.
So that needs time. I'd say when you establish over a 3-year period, that's usually a solid track record
Yeah.
for what you're delivering is what you're saying you're going to deliver, and people can trust you on
Yeah.
that. But when you're a brand that people are hungry for, like Burnt was, they came into the exercise market with amazing gear, created exceptional community. It was much faster for them
Yeah.
just because of the way they solved a
Sure.
problem.
That's amazing. So I just wanted to, because you touched on something on community, right? And a
Yes.
community that you have. So when you're building that brand, is it important for you as an entrepreneur to be the face of that brand, or do you think it's possible to build this whole brand using influencers and other people, or what would you recommend personally is the best thing for you to build that brand?
I think it is very possible to build a brand without being the face of the brand, especially if the brand is not aligned with who you are personally. And that's possible.
Sure.
That's possible to have an
Yeah.
amazing business idea that's not aligned with you personally.
Yeah.
That can happen. So, definitely possible to build a brand apart from who you are,
Yeah.
having a strategic approach to storytelling.
Yeah, sure. Elandri, thank you so much for sharing that. So, entrepreneurs, if you don't know how to tell your story, reach out to Elandri. She's going to be able to help you with that. Thank you so much for joining on this podcast. We look forward to the next one.